Hi everybody, I am Christine the Mean. I am here today with a Fantasy Clash and Clash Esports news update. So we have all kinds of good fun. I may or may not be live on Twitch right now. I can't quite tell, having a little bit of internet trouble. Anyway, let's just jump right in here with our Fantasy Clash and Clash Esports news. So, what do we have going on with our Fantasy Clash? Okay, we have the UWL Fantasy event. And we are just down finally to the semifinals for the UWL Fantasy event. In the UWL main bracket, the big things that just happened, just finished up the last war. Bharat beat Clandestino. So Bharat moves on to the semifinals. Zepto beat Town Hall Legends. So Zepto moves on. Benelux Esports beat War Brothers BR. So Benelux Esports moves on. And just a few minutes ago, the war wrapped up between Star Trek and Silent Snipers. And Star Trek did win it. So we will end up with semifinals of Bharat versus Star Trek on one side of this bracket, and Zepto versus Benelux Esports on the other side of this bracket. So we are getting down very close to the end of the UWL bracket, end of the UWL season. It gets really good up here. Good wars happening everywhere. Okay, so from a fantasy perspective, what happened here? All right, so the round of 16, this is where we were a week ago when I gave an update. Dawson 2 did beat Mafia Lance. Dawson beat Dawson 3. Droovy beat Matt Gizmo. Naswad beat one of the house accounts. GG Crew beat the other house account. Bastion ended up beating Candor in the round of 16. Wow, Who Cares beat Made in Canada, and God Ocean Oasis eked out a win against Tuath Day. So that was where we kind of ended up about a week ago, and unfortunately had to eliminate a number of teams. We had to eliminate Casually Candor, Matt Gizmo, Dawson, and Tuath Day in that round. So round of 8. So this is the round that just finished up. And what you're seeing here is, unfortunately we had this weirdo bracket where we had Dawson playing Dawson and the Dawson 2 playing the main Dawson. This was right before the final war, because like I said, that final war just wrapped up. So Dawson 2 on the top there in the final war had Lando playing. Lando put up a double. I can't remember exactly how big the double was, but since it wasn't a triple, he would not have impacted Dawson 2's score very much. The main Dawson down below was already done, and the funny thing about this is look at how close those scores are. The Dawson 2 had 1863.2, and the main Dawson had 1863.6. How on earth does he get his scores to be that dang close? I don't know. But he did, and the main Dawson will beat the Dawson 2 and move on in the bracket. So the next one is Droovy versus Naswad. All right, so Droovy had the unfortunate event happen where most of his players were not active, and so this was before the final war. For Silent Snipers, Chapai did not play, so he didn't get any points from Chapai. Star Trek SF Mana did play, put up a double, so he added a couple hundred more points, but it just was not going to be enough to overtake Naswad, who had a roster full of fairly active players. So I don't think that Shishir Ahasha played in that Star Trek war either. So Naswad did not put up any more points than this, but Naswad does take it. That's yet another Dawson account. This one was hotly contested. GG Crew versus Bastion. Okay, this came right down to the end because if it started on the bottom and look at Bastion's roster. He has 4 Silent Snipers on his roster, plus the Silent Snipers defense and most of the other players have been inactive. So it came down to just a few minutes ago when Bastion did not win, and he did not win because Silent Snipers only played 2 of those players, and Silent Snipers did not have a good war. They put up 5 doubles. So 5 doubles from Bastion, from Catatonic, and from the player with the characters that I think are Arabic, was not enough. Even with an 11-star, 83% defense, was not enough for Bastion to beat GG Crew. GG Crew in this last war had 2 players that actually played. So both Soil from Star Trek played, and the Demolisher from Silent Snipers played. And that helped pull GG up a couple hundred more points. And so GG Crew will be moving on, and he will have his first opportunity to pillage Bastion's roster. Now, Silent Snipers is out of it, and Bastion didn't have a lot of other players. So there won't be much left there to pillage. But, in theory, GG gets to pillage Bastion's roster. All right, moving on to our next matchup. Wow, Who Cares versus God from Ocean's Oasis. Now, God from Ocean's Oasis, he filled up his whole roster, but he didn't bother to fill his team defense, and I think he's going to be kicking himself about that. Because Wow, Who Cares ended up with, LOL Boy put up another 400 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. So LOL, so he was going to end up with a little over 2,000. I don't know if God from Ocean's Oasis could have got there if he'd filled his team defense or not. But that was it's definitely hard to win when you just cut yourself out of a potential couple hundred points right from the get-go. So Wow, Who Cares will be moving on in the bracket. Had that LOL Boy winning right there at the end for Star Trek. I am not sure that player played until this war. It's kind of funny to watch these wars and all of a sudden people show up on the roster who haven't played ever. But that is what happened in the round of 8. Wow, Who Cares will beat God Ocean's Oasis, and we will eliminate 4 more players. We say rip and goodbye to God Ocean Oasis, Bastion, Dawson 2, and Droovy in this round, which brings us to our bracket. And when we look at our fantasy bracket, we are also getting down close to the end here with the UWL. On the left-hand side, we've got a Dawson versus Dawson filler match that'll happen next, and one of those accounts will go to the final. So Dawson is in the final. Now, Dawson is the reigning champion. He has won 2 rounds of Fantasy Clash already, so it'll be easy for him, right? Because he's going after it. Now, he did end up getting to play extra accounts because we almost had to cancel this conference due to lack of interest, and so I let Dawson run extra accounts, which is why we end up with this odd thing on the left. We won't do that again. We now have enough interest in our events that I don't have to let Dawson run 4 accounts. On the right, with GG Crew beating Bastion, we will end up with GG Crew facing off against Wow, Who Cares. This is our next matchup, as both Bastion and God Ocean Oasis drop off the bracket. So we're going to have Dawson on the left, and we're going to have either GG Crew or Wow, Who Cares on the right in our final matchup for the UWL. Now, this is GG Crew's first time through a fantasy event. Wow, Who Cares has been here before. Let's see how this goes. So exciting. So exciting when we get down to these parts. Next, Events Hub. Oh boy, that's a lot of X's. So, last week when we talked, Events Hub was just kicking off. There were 32 teams still in it. 16 have been eliminated since then. Actually 17, but that's because the next round started. But so a whole bunch of good teams got eliminated first round at the round of 32. I still didn't put together a bracket because it's hard to see the bracket. But we've eliminated a bunch of teams, a bunch of good teams that people thought might go deep. So that always keeps it exciting. And this is one of the key matchups that I just wanted to point out from that round of 32 with Events Hub. The Uman Manda goes perfect against Benelux esports. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because some of our fantasy players are big Benelux esports fans, and so they would have had a lot of deep Benelux esports players on rosters. And Benelux esports is now out because the Uman Manda manages to deliver a 15. We have Fief and Gondor and Orangutan and Avan and Luke and Lord Kirk all putting up triples. So, from my perspective as an outsider, I've been watching. I mean, the Uman Manda's been doing a lot lately trying to strengthen their rosters. And yeah, gosh, that's where it shows up, right? Putting up a perfect against Benelux esports is no small task. So congratulations to the Uman Manda, and I'm sorry all of you fantasy players who are big Benelux esports fans. You'll have to watch them over there in the UWL. So, in our winter championships, okay, so the round of 16 matchups now happen. This is where the head-to-heads start out in Fantasy Clash. And at the top, I've got Timmy versus Dion. All right, well, neither Timmy or Dion, if I remember right, have full rosters, so it's hard to say who will win. It kind of depends who's going to end up with more players playing. Welsh Wizard versus WoW, who cares? It wasn't clear between those two. Now, Hammy versus GG Crew. Hammy had a full roster. GG Crew did not. So we will see if GG Crew can hang on to it with his not full roster. We'll see. The next one, Clash with Style against Casually Cantor. Style somehow managed to miss all of the tags, didn't fill his roster, so Casually Cantor is highly favored to win that matchup. Then we have the Overthinkers versus Kian. Kian basically showed up on the day of the draft and hasn't been seen in the server since. It's hard to win when you don't play. So Overthinkers 2 out day, highly likely going to win this one. The next one, Wolfang J and Shawnee Sean. Wolfang J signed up. We auto-drafted for him. I don't really think he's really playing. So Shawnee Sean fills his roster. Shawnee Sean will probably win it. The next one, though, Dawson versus 0 Stars Only, that one's hotly contested. They both worked to get their rosters full, and it'll be interesting to see who wins it. And then on the bottom, we have Bastion versus Basso. And again, Basso did not fully fill his roster at the round of 16, so Bastion will probably win it. Those green check marks mean probably are going to win it. Like, mathematically, it's difficult for the other team to win it, but you never know. So we'll see. God Ocean's Oasis went very deep in our UWL event, just on the backs of a couple of strong players and easy matchups. So we'll see what happens here with our Events Hub round of 16, and I'll have a bracket up here for you next week. So something I wanted to point out about Fantasy Clash, and when Fantasy Clash is involved in a tournament event, is that when I put these scoreboards together, you don't usually see these because I hide the tags because that's boring. But behind every scoreboard is a list of player tags. This is how Fantasy Clash works, is the fantasy team owners draft players who have tags. And when I put the scoreboards together, I put all the players from that clan, I list their tags, and I grab the attacks as they come in. Now, what happens if the clan runs players that are not tags that are not on the list? They don't show up on the scoreboard. That's how I know when a clan is running non-rostered accounts, is because if they were on the roster, my automatic data pickup would pick them up and throw their scores on here. So in the first round of 16 match, the only round of 16 match that happened so far, World Top Korea used 2 players that were not on their roster. Now they ended up, I think another one of them, I can't remember what the final score was. Maybe it was a 13 or a 14. I can't remember, but it was World Top Korea would have won it, except that they ran 2 non-rostered players, which disqualified them from the tournament. So just as a warning to everybody, when I'm running a fantasy event, you can't play fast and loose with those rosters because I will catch it. I will see it. I will know. And it's up to the tournament to decide what to do about it. But generally, when I bring it to the attention of the tournament, they disqualified the teams because most of these playoffs, most of these tournaments have rules that say you cannot change your roster and you can't run non-rostered accounts. The whole point is to make sure you're not bringing in ringers for the playoff. So anyway, I'm going to catch it. It's not me being mean. It's just part of how the fantasy game is played. And I'm going to see it. And I just bring it to the attention of the tournament because it does disrupt the fantasy game too. So if you think about how we would have had 10 potential players from World Top Korea drafted by the fantasy team owners, but now you're playing two others, that means fantasy team owners have less of a chance of actually scoring from WTK because they didn't play the ones that they said they were going to. So anyway, Ocean Oasis Alpha moves on in the round of 16. World Top Korea gets disqualified. It's still early, so I'm not sure if that's going to be a defining thing, but I did want to bring it up. This is what happens when you let me run a fantasy event, is I find out all the problems. Okay, so transitioning over to some general Clash news. This is my news from Twitter portion of the show. The first one, Bandit joins Unfair Warfare. So he is happy to announce that he's joined and looking forward to killing it with this solid squad. So Bandit announced this. Congratulations to Bandit and to Unfair Warfare for finding a match. Our next item, a news from Twitter. Okay, all right. This is the this is a little confusing if you don't know some of the history, but I knew somebody who knew some of the history. So there is a player / org owner / manager by the name of Japa 10. And Japa 10 had previously tried to engineer, had previously been at Supremacy BR and had tried to engineer some kind of an alliance between Supremacy and Tigers of War, and that did not go well. Apparently some of the others in Supremacy didn't want it to happen. So Japa 10 is now at Familia BR and has managed to bring together Familia BR and the Tigers of War together into an alliance. And so we are now seeing Tigers of War showing up in some of the competitive events and putting up rosters. And so that's what's going on here. A TOW-FBR partnership. I think Tigers of War ends up being the name that they're competing under in esports competitions, as best I can tell. And this announcement might suggest it also, because we have Tigers of War is now introducing their first pro player on their pro team, and that is Jesse. And so he was the leader of the well-known Flying Cockroach, which I didn't know about the Flying Cockroach, so I don't know if that was well known or not. Has great international experience with the Felian, Golden X, UOL, Activity E, wants to go to the World Cup. So we have Tigers of War trying to get strong and position themselves to go play at Worlds. Next, we have Rigo. Okay, I'm not going to translate this whole thing, but basically it says Rigo Torres is saying here, our contract is terminated and we are listening to offers. And here is a long list of all of the great things that we did in 2019 and 2020, so you know how great we are. So Rio Torres is shopping around for a place to land. And when he says we, I don't really know if it just means him or if there's a roster with him. But if you are looking for Rigo, he is out there advertising availability. The next, we have M Esport, proud to announce their A team, their A roster for 2021. Samu Krisa, Spachimoto, Tia, Lord Beerus, Reguldo, Not Giovi, and Kamol's TPC. So we will be watching for this new roster from M Esports to be making a splash in the Clash of Clans esports space. All right, now we're moving into League news. Fury Cup. Last time I talked about Fury and how they had a delayed bracket. Well, Fury did get their bracket out at 64 teams. I'm not going to zoom in. I'll keep you up to date on how the bracket is progressing every week. But at 64, there's just still a lot of teams out there. So the other thing to think about or to know with reference to Fury is that Achilles had posted in the Fury server this statement: I am looking for someone to take over Fury next season. If you're interested, DM me. I prefer for it to have a staff already put together so I know that it will run smoothly. So when I read that, I thought, oh no, Fury's going to switch hands again, because Fury switched hands kind of between season 2 and season 3, I think it was. And now this is at the end of season 3, and I was thinking they were switching hands again. I posted that in the Competitive Clash Network as news, and AE Push says, no, Fury's not switching hands. We're just looking for staff. So my comment here is that is the most awkwardly worded request for staff I've ever seen. But it sounds like Fury needs some help. I don't know. They've got a bracket out there, and the playoffs are starting. So that is good news. Next piece of league news, Global Clash Cup. Global Clash Cup crowned a champion this last week. Penta beat Amazing Greeks, in the final for the GCC. They took home the $500 prize. Lots of tweets, lots of excitement about that. So congratulations to Penta. And also applications are indeed open for the next season of the Global Clash Cup. And so anybody out there, there's still a couple of weeks to apply. Applications are open until February 8th. Next news, Stephanie. Okay, now I was having internet trouble. Let's see if I can get this thing to play. Oh, I cannot get that thing to play. That did not play. Okay, well, here's the deal. There is a video, the Stephanie Championship. This video is pretty cool. Oh, maybe we'll get it. Let's see if it plays. I was having internet slow, so let's see. There it is. I'll just let you watch that. It's short.
I'm just going to say,
Okay, so $20,000 prize pool for the Stephanie Championship. Now, I should point out that I believe that's $20,000 spread out among a number of different town hall level competitions, but $20,000 is no laughing matter. So that is pretty exciting to see some big money besides just the ESL things coming into Clash. And we will keep our eyes open on that. I think I saw something about a Town Hall 12 being starting. I mostly pay attention to Town Hall 13s, so we'll see that next. All right, next, okay, Pit. Oh, I don't even know if I want to cover this. It is a bit of drama, but I have a point of view that I kind of feel like I need to share, and I feel like this is the right platform. So I'm going to share it. There was a streamer who put out a tweet, and the tweet said, and I'm not even going to tell you who it is. We're trying to not add more air to this stuff, but it said, "Ouch, I'm not good enough to stream Pit. They wanted to make me an overlay after the season started, which I don't need, so rejected me. Too bad. I had heard it was an up-and-coming tourney. Guess not. They don't like coverage for their wars. A bit short-sighted?" Okay, now the reason this is on my radar is that after that tweet went out, they tagged Pit, and it just got to be a lot of drama. Streamer after streamer after streamer piling into the Twitter showing support, the Pit tournament trying to defend their actions, and it turned into this big, ugly drama. And it just made me really uncomfortable. And here's why, okay? I'm a streamer. I know what's easy and what's hard and what's good and what's bad about being a streamer. I'm also on staff for a tournament, and I know how hard it is to run a good tournament. There should be a symbiosis between streamers and tournaments. Streamers need the content that tournaments make. Tournaments want the coverage that streamers provide. It should be a win-win, and they should be kind of mutually supportive of each other. As a practical matter right now, the esports supply of wars is higher than the capacity for streamers to cover. So there are esports wars happening every single day that do not get covered because, some streamers are picky and they only do the big ones because they're at the wrong time, because there's all kinds of reasons. But there is a greater supply of esports wars than anybody is covering. I could spend all day, every day covering esports wars. Every tournament that puts these things together has like somewhat different goals and different media guidelines. The clans know what those media guidelines are before they sign up. The streamers have access to those guidelines. There's nothing, for the most part, there's nothing hidden about this. But different tournaments are going to have different goals. So one of the things that I know about Pitt is they thought they haven't articulated this, but they have worked really hard to make what I want to call a unified graphical image. And as a streamer, for me, before the season even started, they were working with me to give me a customized overlay. And that's what I'm showing you in the bottom left there. That is the customized overlay that Pitt made for me. It has my name underneath my spot on the webcam. The aspect ratios for it are right for my devices and my screen capture. The webcam is the right aspect ratio. And so it took a little bit of iteration, but we did this even before the season started. This Pitt overlay was made for me. And now every time I go to stream a war, they make me the thumbnail. So this, and that's what's shown up on the top left there, is the thumbnail that's used. So, what I know is that Pitt has put a lot of effort into making sure that all of their streamers have this kind of unified graphical look. And that's important to Pitt, or they wouldn't put in so much effort on it. There's other tournaments where that is not important at all. So if you go to stream a CWL esports war, you're on your own for graphics. You'll probably be able to find the logos you need someplace. But for them, a unified graphical image is not something they're trying to achieve. And so it's fine. Do what you want. I kind of think that as streamers, we need to respect the differences between these tournaments. And if there's some that we don't like, it's okay, go find another. There are plenty of tournaments out there that you can go find that will let you do your own graphics, that will be more than grateful to have you stream any of their wars. And running a tournament is hard. There's a lot of different issues you have to deal with clans, with media, with everything. And the only part of this system that actually has any potential of making money is the streamer. So if you think about, who's in here? Well, you have a clan in here. All right, possibly your clan is going to win, and possibly if they win, they make a little money. You have a tournament here that has worked really hard to get sponsorships, but those sponsorships are probably covering only the prize pool. Probably the tournament staff is paying out of pocket for things like bot development, graphics, server hosting, giveaways. Probably the staff is paying for those things out of pocket. If the sponsor is actually sponsoring some of that as well, it would be almost unheard of for the sponsor to be paying enough that the tournament is actually making money. So typically a tournament staff lose money by volunteering to be your tournament staff. So you've got clans that don't really make any money because not very many of them win. You've got tournament staff that are actually paying money out of their own pockets to put this thing on. And then you have streamers who every single time they stream, they get ad revenue, they get subscriptions, they get views. And now I'm not saying it's a huge amount of money. It isn't. However, not for most of us. However, they are the only ones with a direct path to revenue. So I find it really, really, it makes my stomach hurt to watch a streamer tear a new one for a tournament. All that tournament is doing is making content. They're paying to do it. And from my experience with Pitt, they've done a really good job for their first season out. Could it be better? Sure, absolutely. Every tournament could be better somehow. But it really pained me to see this happen to Pitt. And I know that this is an unpopular opinion. If you go out on Twitter and you find the tweet, you'll find that I am literally the only person who is not agreeing. Of course, I didn't say it either because it's a hornet's nest. But that's my take on Pitt. All right, we'll move on. Our next piece of news is LIC. So LIC is getting down to the end point here. We are at semifinals with RTK up against EM Legion Divina. I think that's Exalt Might. On the left-hand side of this bracket, and Queen Walkers versus HT Family on the right. So some big teams have kind of fallen off here. Method to Madness fell off. Nolex is out. Resistance is out. Space Station is out. So big names fell off, and we've got a couple of good wars left to finish off the LIC. Next, Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg also is getting down to the end of their playoff season. And the semifinal will be Zarake War 2 versus Filipinos 24/7 and Never Back Down versus Dream. Now, I like watching the Blitzkrieg, and I like watching it because there will be some teams that are familiar to me and others that are not. And I always like noticing how deep some of these teams I've never heard of go. So I will keep watch on this, and we will see how the season ends up for Blitzkrieg. EYG Open. So the EYG Open is, so a lot of our tournaments right now are either just finishing or just starting. So EYG Open just announced their group stage. This is what, 6, 12, 16 different groups in the pro division of the EYG Open. I am happy to announce that we also will be doing a Fantasy Clash event with the EYG Open. So I'm excited about that, the Pro Div. Clash Champs Cup just announced the group draw. So group stage, this one also has 16 different groups. You know, we'll watch this one as it progresses as well. That was just announced. This one's just getting started. And I've got Boom. I don't know if anybody's even heard of Boom. I happened to be in a Discord server that had a link, and I opened it up and I was like, wow, there's one that I have not heard of here. So Boom looks like it is a Town Hall 13 5v5, $200 prize plus 5 Town Hall 13 from Blueprint base building. For first prize, they actually have like a second prize and a third prize, so that's kind of unusual. Registrations close on the 30th of January, so go look for Boom if you're interested in this. Tournament starts the first week of February, playoffs starting the 22nd of March. There is hey OG Bagger. There is indeed a link to this in the Events Hub. So if you're in the Events Hub server, that's where I found the link to join Boom. So good luck to everybody joining this. It'll be fun to watch a new one come up. All right. So just a quick reminder as I get ready to sign off here. Hey, Yuhove, how are you? So the quick reminder here is that the Competitive Clash Network continues to accept esports league rating forms. And I think we have 5 or 6 of them posted now where we have enough ratings to post. I know we just added the ICWL, and it seems like I added another one not too long ago. So there's, I think, 5 of them out there now. If you want to go look at the ratings, if you want to submit your own rating, let your voice be heard on how these leagues operate and how it is to participate in them as either a player or a clan rep or a streamer. We accept them from those categories. So that is going to wrap up my Fantasy Clash news and esports news for today.